It's Monday, September 21st, 2015. This is PSN News. Tonight we'll have the latest on the tragic deaths of two Penn State students.
We'll also look at the recent Penn State Board of Trustees meeting, coming up on PSN News.
Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Hunter Holbert.
And I'm Katie Litwin. The Penn State community is mourning the loss of two of its members in 1 week. On Tuesday, a 22-year-old Penn State student was killed after being involved in a vehicle crash on Interstate 80 in Clinton County. The Daily Collegian reports that Christopher Lauren Dixon was ejected from his vehicle after losing control and flipping over a guardrail. State police responded to a report regarding the accident at around 7 a.m. Tuesday. When they arrived at the scene, they found the vehicle located in the weeds over the guardrail, with Dixon approximately 25 feet away. Dixon was a junior majoring in agricultural science. There are no other additional details known at this time.
And just 2 days later, Penn State lost another one of its own. The Daily Collegian reports Penn State officials were notified of the death of student Nicholas Stuck on Thursday. The 24-year-old Lewistown native was majoring in hotel, restaurant, and institutional management and worked at the Nittany Lion Inn. Police are investigating his cause of death, which still has not been determined, and a toxicology report will be available in a few weeks.
Penn State's Pan-Hellenic and Intra-Fraternity Councils will be voting on whether or not to add an additional social night for Greek life members. PSN's own Jordan Jagolinzer sat down with Pan-Hellenic's president to learn more.
Members of Greek life might get to have a little bit more fun, but the Pan-Hellenic community will be taking better measures to ensure the safety of all affiliates.
We decided that we would be able to better enforce things and regulate everything if we knew where everyone was on all three of the nights, that we know people were still going out. They were just going out in smaller groups.
That's probably going to make life so much easier, so people aren't like sneaking around.
Last year, Penn State's Pan-Hellenic Council voted to eliminate the traditional third social night in hopes of making the Greek community safer. Instead, members got around the rules.
The conditions that they're adding it for aren't very exciting.
Social checkers are going to go around and start checking at 9 p.m. So anything found between 9 and 10 p.m. will be like an unregistered social.
The third social night might come back into effect, but the policy restricting pre-games will now be strictly enforced.
Like, drinking is never safe, honestly, but I think it would be safer because it's registered, so that means that Pandel knows about it.
Having only 2 socials last year resulted in a great amount of risk management issues, including underage drinking. Organizations were faced with high fines as well as lengthy social probations for being caught going out 3 nights.
A lot of sororities are getting in trouble and fined, and that also causes like more people to fight and rebel.
They're essentially adding it because it was too big of a risk not to have it because girls were going out other places rather than a registered social.
Pan-Hellenic Council is hopeful this will finally result in a safer community.
It makes for a safer community because at the end of the day, the whole thing is like you join these organizations knowing that you have to abide by these standards and these rules. And so if we say, yes, you are allowed to go to a registered function on Thursday, Friday, and or Saturday, but you have to abide by our rules when you're doing it.
Regardless of where members fall, they all feel passionate about the issue.
They're not doing it to help us, they're just doing it to help themselves.
The topic will be voted on in the next coming weeks. For PSN News,
Was happy at the end of the Penn State Board of Trustees bi-monthly meeting Friday. Onward State reports there were some tense moments during the Committee on Governance and Long-Range Planning's report, as some trustees expressed disappointment that candidates could receive emeritus status after just 6 years of service to the university. Despite this, the board primarily voted yes, awarding emeritus status to 3 candidates. Other topics covered were President Eric Barron's new Capitol campaign, which will be launched next July, as well as the For the Future campaign. The board will meet again on November 19th and 20th at University Park.
In just a little over an hour, the University Park Undergraduate Association made 2 resolutions and passed a bill during its 4th meeting of the semester. Onward State reports the Blue and White Brigade was reinstated to transport students to away games, specifically the Ohio State game on October 17th. The bill passed unanimously and will offer 2 55-person buses on a first-come, first-served basis. The 2 resolutions involve matters of safety, including sexual assault and safety of all intersections involving Atherton Street.
Well, it does not look like Graham Spanier will be visiting Saudi Arabia anytime soon. The Commonwealth is continuing the fight to return the former Penn State president's passport. Spanier is currently out on bail as he faces criminal charges including child endangerment and conspiracy, among others, in connection with the Jerry Sandusky child sex abuse case. As part of the bail agreement, Spanier was forced to surrender his passport. However, his attorneys insist he needs to travel to Saudi Arabia to attend education conferences necessary for his job. He is now appealing the decision to the judge presiding over the case.
In case of emergency, just text 911. The Daily Collegian reports that Center County is starting a new service in which anyone with a mobile phone can now text 911 in emergencies. Those using the service can text the location as well as the details of the incident in the body of the text message, using 911 as the recipient. Local District Attorney Stacey Parks Miller said the service is best used in situations such as domestic violence and home robbery. So far, about 1/3 of Pennsylvania's 67 counties have begun using the service.
And up next, I'll be sitting down with the Executive Director of the Student Program Association, Liz Malara, and Late Night Committee member Khushbu Agarwala to talk about new events that the SPA has planned for the semester. Stay with us.
If you drive buzzed, it could cost you around $10,000. You'll face major legal fees, major fines, and steep insurance penalties. You could lose everything. Buzzed, busted, and broke, because buzz driving is drunk driving.
Wow, these are really good.
You act surprised. Practice makes perfect.
You don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. There are thousands of teens in foster care who don't need perfection. They need you.
Wow, these are really good.
You act surprised. Practice makes perfect.
You don't have to be perfect.
So good to see you guys. So, what's up?
Oh, we finally bought a place.
Holy cow.
You seriously have enough saved to do that?
We've been putting a little aside each month.
Jeez, at the end of the month, we have nothing left to save.
Yeah, I have no idea where it goes.
Well, you're spending a lot on...
Was it good?
Oh, God.
Oh, how is my account overdrawn?
When it comes to financial stability, don't get left behind. Get tools and tips for saving at feedthepig.org.
Committee member Khushbu Agarwala. Good evening, ladies. How are you guys doing today?
Good.
Thank you for joining us. Now, as you all know, we're very excited about everything SPA has every year. But can you tell us a little bit about what SPA is, first of all, and what you guys plan to do this year?
Okay. SPA is a performing association. We put on the concerts, comedy events, novelties that you see in the hub or on campus. It comes from your student activity fee. We provide opportunities for students to have experiences and create memories on campus that maybe if someone wants an alternative to going out at night or something downtown, we can provide this for them.
Absolutely. Now, you guys have a lot of different sectors that kind of all work together to make the Student Programming Association. Can you talk about each one, and specifically with late night? I know that's a big one around campus as well.
Do you want to take that?
Sure. So we actually have a lot of different committees, and each committee kind of has its own focus. Late night especially does all the programming on the weekends, and we do all the concerts, novelty acts, kind of entertainment events, and then we also have an entertainment committee that does similar acts but just during the week. We also have a lectures committee which does more of the distinguished speakers that come to campus. So we had Brandon Stanton last year, and we have more exciting events coming up this year.
Getting ready to announce. We can't say anything yet.
Awesome. Now, I know you can't give a lot of details, but can you explain to people how you go about getting these relatively popular people to come to Penn State?
So it starts with kind of conceiving the idea that you want to do for the event. You do a lot of research to find people in the budget that are kind of at that sweet spot right before they get super popular, and that they're able to come with their contracting and availability and stuff. Committees vote. They try and think what's best for Penn State, not necessarily what they like, but what's best for the Penn State student body. And then we put out contracts. There's a lot of risk management involved and everything within the university. If they're available to come, sometimes contracts fall through. That's why we have to wait so long to announce, and we get super excited when we can announce. But so it's kind of a joint effort. There's a lot that goes into it. It's not just like a 1 week process. We plan months in advance sometimes.
Absolutely. Now tell me a little bit about being a committee member, because I know a lot of people don't really know about that and might want to get involved. So can you please explain exactly what you do as a committee member?
Yeah, so basically everything lists just that all of that goes through the committee. So the chairs and the admin are just there to kind of facilitate the whole process, but we usually meet once a week, and we'll have usually either a date in mind that we're planning for, or some genre or event type that we're looking for. And as a committee, we'll go over what we think would be the best acts to bring to campus, what we think we haven't covered yet, or what the student body would be looking forward to. And then we go around the room, we brainstorm more ideas, we try to do more research, and then we come up with a list. And then once we have an idea of how much the list will cost, we'll vote on who to bring and sort of kind of make the final decision based on that.
Now, I know a lot of students who go to a lot of the SPA events absolutely love it, and you guys do a terrific job at choosing the right people who are particularly relevant and interesting to Penn State students. How do you go about in getting the student feedback part of it? Because I know you referenced the committee, kind of getting together and learning what might be best, but how do you get the students involved?
We do a lot of surveying, literally gaining feedback as audience members are leaving our events. We like to maybe hand out surveys, tell them to go to our social media. People tweet at us with suggestions. They stop in our office, 226 Hub Robeson Center. They come in all the time with suggestions. We get a lot of emails. So it's kind of just gauging what students like. Surveyings are a really big thing for us, because we can't always give specific acts, but we can give genres and things like that, see what people are interested in.
And for people who are interested in joining SPA and helping do what you guys do, how can they join?
They can come to the Hub. 226 Hub is our office. It's a giant office. There's always people in there. Or they can email any of the admin, which is on our website, tweet us at PSU_SPA. We're very responsive to everything like that.
Awesome. Well, thank you ladies for joining us. I learned a lot, and I'm sure a lot of the students who are watching learned a lot as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
And we'll be right back with the weather coming up shortly.
All right, you ready for some baseball trivia?
Let's do it.
What year produced the most no-hit games in the big leagues?
7 no-hitters in 1990.
Wow, that's right. Now a question that's not trivial. How many children will witness bullying this year?
Huh.
The answer? 3 out of 4.
75%?
That's
Wow.
right. How many of them will say something?
Kids want to help, but don't know how. Teach them how to stop bullying and be more than a bystander at stopbullying.gov.
Oh! Checking your fantasy league?
Nah, just my 401k statement.
Nice. Where'd you find the money for that?
I just been saving a little every month.
I can't seem to save anything.
Well, what about all this? What about the money you're spending?
What money? It's gone before I can get my hands on it.
I got a pizza for a Todd.
Hey, can somebody spot me?
When it comes to financial stability, don't get left behind.
It's 547.
Get tools and tips for saving at feedthepig.org.
There's a shelter pet who wants to meet you. Meet one today. Visit theshelterpetproject.org. Adopt.
Thank you.
Welcome back. Here with your updates from around the world, I'm Zinnia Mazzanato. Creating headlines across the globe is the European migrant crisis. Hundreds of thousands of refugees fleeing war have flooded into Europe, and many countries are struggling to cope with the crisis. Almost 500,000 people have reached Europe by sea so far this year, with Germany the most popular destination, with more than 8 asylum applications. The conflict in Syria continues to be by far the biggest driver of the migration, but the ongoing violence in Afghanistan, Eritrea, and Kosovo have also led people to look for new lives elsewhere. We decided to see how Penn State students on campus are trying to aid those being affected by the migration crisis. Today, we're sitting down with Hannah Tomes, president of the United Nations Children's Fund chapter here at Penn State. Hi, how are you?
Good.
Thank you for joining us.
Absolutely.
We'd like to just start off with maybe you explaining what UNICEF does here on Penn State campus.
Right, so UNICEF, or United Nations International Children's Fund, is an organization which works to protect the human rights of children in over 190 countries around the world. We focus on issues such as hunger, poverty, disease, gender equality, access to clean water, and obviously refugees, as we're discussing right now.
So could you explain how something like this immigration crisis may affect, Penn State students here on campus that are, thousands of miles away?
So one of the biggest issues that we try to address at UNICEF Penn State is helping the community to see issues like the refugee crisis as something that's close to them and not far away. And really what we want people to see is that the crisis will affect these students in their lifetime. Based on the decisions that Penn State students make, they can choose to support policies that will allow more refugees to enter the United States to get the help that they need. The camps that they're living in right now, there's poor sanitation issues. Children don't have an education, they're separated from their families, and there's just overcrowding there. And it's because a lot of countries in the Western world, including the United States, are not allowing these refugees to enter. And it's becoming a huge issue. So Penn State students can speak out about this. They can support public figures who want more refugees to enter these countries.
Mm-hmm. So what are some initiatives that UNICEF is taking to bring awareness and maybe some aid to these refugees fleeing their home countries?
Right, so UNICEF overall as an organization has been working on the ground in Syria and in these countries where the refugee crisis is very prevalent since 2011 when it really began. They provide tents, access to clean water, clothing to people in need, and they also create education areas. So they establish what are called tent schools in these areas, so young children can have kind of both an education but a sense of familiarity and consistency in their lives, so psychological help as well. In terms of what we're doing here in the US, UNICEF is asking for donations, of course, because getting enough money to just help these people living in the camps is a huge part of what needs to be done. Also, asking people to just speak up about it. There's on the UNICEF website an option for people who want to help to email the president, write him a letter, just sign a petition, just speak up about these things that are going on in the world. And also they encourage people to host fundraisers. So UNICEF Penn State, this is obviously something that we do. This fall, the week of November 9th, we're having a week-long event called Week Zero. Zero meaning zero childhood deaths from preventable causes. That's focused on the refugee crisis. And every day of the week we'll be hosting a documentary screening, tabling at the hub. We'll be selling merchandise so people can get the word out, and some peaceful demonstrations. So really the biggest thing is education and advocacy. We want people to be educated about this issue and speak up, because we as Penn State students do have the power to make a change. We just need to take action.
Thank you so much for joining us today and helping us bring awareness to this crisis. That's all we have time for today. Thank you so much for joining us. Keep watching for your local weather and sports news.
All right, you ready for some baseball trivia?
Let's do it.
What year produced the most no-hit games in the big leagues?
7 no-hitters in 1990.
Wow, that's right. Now a question that's not trivial. How many children will witness bullying this year?
Huh.
The answer? 3 out of 4.
75%?
That's
Wow.
right. How many of them will say something?
Kids want to help, but don't know how. Teach them how to stop bullying and be more than a bystander at stopbullying.gov.
Oh, look, a redhead. Staring contest.
Kind of like listen to a story and just talking about it.
Mike Gilbert with your PSN News Sports Update. What was billed as a big rivalry game turned into a laugher Saturday night as Penn State dominated Rutgers from the opening kick, winning 28-3. Christian Hagenberg only had a QBR of 45.3, but there's a recurring theme for Nittany Lions fans. Saquon Barkley is becoming a stud. 21 carries, 195 yards, and 2 scores for the freshman. Joey Julius doing the whip on the sideline after the game as the fans chant, "We're not rivals." Put the icing on the cake as the Lions are moving forward from that opening game meltdown in Philly. Speaking of big wins, how about the women's volleyball team taking home the USF Invitational over the weekend? with the win top-ranked and still undefeated Penn State capping 11-0 run in the non-conference portion of the schedule. Ayanna Whitney, Haley Washington both had double-digit kills, and the Lions' consecutive win streak rises to 31. The women's soccer team could be falling out of the top 5 after a loss to Minnesota 1-0. Raquel Rodriguez nearly netted a goal for State in the 40th minute, but it hit the crossbar. The Gophers were able to score a goal in the 32nd minute. The Nittany Lions will play Nebraska and Iowa this weekend. Johnny Football had one of his best games as a pro over the weekend, throwing 2 bombs for over 50 yards. Those are both to Travis Benjamin for touchdowns. Browns made Marcus Mariota look like, dare I say, Ryan Leaf for at least one day. Got their first win of the year. Eli Manning couldn't get his timing in order for the second straight week, handing the game to the Falcons late in the fourth quarter. They dropped to 0-2. And Buffalo nearly came back to beat the Pats at the Ralph. Tom Brady, too much for Rex Ryan's D, throwing for 466 yards. You heard that right. That's scary. My Jets take on the Colts later tonight. Jason Day continues his tear through the FedEx Cup, winning the BMW Championship easily on Sunday. Day finished 22 under par. I would bite my left pinky off to finish 1 round under par. He's now #1 in the world for the first time in his career. He's won 4 of his last 6 tournaments, including that PGA Championship victory. And now the only top 5 in the FedEx Cup playoff standings can win the playoffs, so go Jordan Spieth. That's it for this week's Sports Update. I'm Mike Gilbert, back to PSN News after this.
Hey, Hard, what's this? That's my resignation letter. You're resigning? Why? Because you're constantly ignoring me. You're half as active as you used to be, and you get stuff like this. You've been putting me under a lot of pressure lately. That's why I'm ready to quit. I forgot. I'll do better. Please, don't quit on me. Okay. But remember, it's not what you say. It's what you do.
Listen to your heart. Don't let it quit on you.
Let's go for a walk.
Uncontrolled high blood pressure could lead to a stroke, heart attack, or death. Get yours to a healthy range before it's too late.
You sure you don't want some? It's chamomile. Listen, you are extremely terrifying. Just the scariest undead subhuman thing on TV, and I really mean that. But I am worried that you could give my kids nightmares if they see you, so I'm gonna have to block you. So that's it. Oh, and tell the zombies they're blocked too.
After the most recent presidential debate this past Wednesday, there have been many heated discussions about what citizens want to see in their next president. PSN News reporter Maria Dedinger asked the Penn State community what they think.
To the streets of State College to see what Penn State community members, in addition to Penn State students, would like to see in the next presidential election, and what issues they feel are important for the candidates to address. Let's take a look and see what they had to say.
Issues with the environment,
educational system, abortion,
minimum wage,
ISIS in Iran, and how a lot of the money is spent. We should be building a Keystone Pipeline.
Because I hate being in college and only making $7.25 an hour.
I'm an environmental studies major, so the next president will affect if I have a job or not in that field. So I'm looking for someone that will provide lots of funding.
Our children are being pushed into the judicial system based on their education, based on the test scores that the children are given, which are given unfairly. So we've got a lot of problems created by this last president.
Clearly, people have varying opinions as to what exactly are the most important issues for the next U.S. president to tackle in 2016. In addition to those questioned downtown, members of both political parties on campus were asked the same question. Kendall Strachan of the College Republicans, as well as Ryan Valencia of the College Democrats.
Immigration, because we have an immigration problem in our country, and I think people are concerned, especially with a certain candidate's position on building a wall.
Income inequality, how so much is going to the very top and so little is going to the very bottom. Talking about progressing in terms of our economy, in terms of creating more jobs, you don't hear about that either. In terms of fighting climate change, which is an issue that I think a lot of college students actually care about.
Planned Parenthood scandal and how people feel about that, especially because the House just passed a bill to defund Planned Parenthood.
For citizens eager for the next political debate, it will take place on Tuesday, October 13th on CNN. And with the presidential election more than a year away, we can only wait to see how it will play out.
2015. Thanks for joining us, and make sure to check us out on Twitter at PSN News.
And make sure to watch us every Monday night live at 7 p.m. Have a good night, and thanks for watching.